In 1971, Stanford University psychology professor Philip Zimbardo conducted an experiment in which 24 college students were randomly assigned the roles of prisoners and guards, and then had them live in a fake prison. The 24 college students were middle-class people who grew up normally in the United States and Canada and had no history of crime or drug use. The take of the 24 college students was to act as much like real guards and prisoners as possible. However, in the group's action, other than physically harming each other, swearing or scaring each other was possible. At first, since it was an experiment, both prisoners and guards accepted the experiment comfortably. But after a few hours, the experiment went out of control. The students who played the role of prison guards really harshly abused the students who played the role of prisoners over several hours. The result was so disastrous that the experiment, which was scheduled to last 14 days, was completed in 6 days. The conclusion of Professor Zimbardo's experiment is that even ordinary people can become devils. The world is full of good and evil, and it will be so in the past, present, and future. Also, the boundary between good and evil is very vague and incomplete. An angel can become a devil, and a devil can become an angel. When we mix with many people, we see that not only beautiful people are there are many people who fight, hit, swear, and mean, deceitful, and cruel. Satan is not Satan because he was born as Satan. But anyone can become Satan depending on the situation. Also, it is a common psychological phenomenon among people that shabby clothes lower a person's value when it comes to having a scary appearance. It usually refers to the face, a large face, scary eyes, raised eye corners, deep wrinkles, or an unusual expression create a grim face. It is a general tendency of people to think that people with such uncomfortable expression or faces are more likely to scammers, thugs, thieves, and criminals. Of course, when evaluating a person, it is wrong to try to generalize certain negative characteristics into an overall expression. You shouldn't judge people like that, but this can only be said to be a general psychological tendency. The God look that contributes to the devil effect usually plays a role when there is a large scar on the face. There is no law preventing people from having scars on their faces throughout their lives, but people with scars on their faces feel more threatening to others than people without scars. So, when people see a person with a scar on their face, they immediately suspect that person may be a gang member. Police conduct random searches to determine if these people are criminals. Perhaps criminals have realized this, but criminals in recent years are less likely to be caught by surprise arrests if they commit a crime dressed neatly or even in a suit and then run away. So the number of so-called suit-type criminals is rapidly increasing. There is nothing more foolish than judging people based on their appearance. However, since the first thing anyone encounters with a person is their appearance, such as their face, eyes, expression, and impression, they should also be able to think that this thing will have a significant impact on their evaluation. People should not be judged solely on their appearance, but there is nothing to lose in having good looks and a good impression. And because his inner thoughts are expressed externally, his appearance reflects a part of his inner self. A smiling face is like an angel. Smiling is the best way to prevent the devil effect. The parachute and the face must be open to survive.